My name is Omar Castaneda. I work for Factory Authorized Service. We are the service company that reps the equipment that we've been talking about today: the boilers, the Laco separator, and the pumps. We're located in the city of Montebello, up by the 5 freeway. And so, if there's a warranty issue or parts, whatever you're going to need for any of these products, we're going to go forward and explain all that. But that's who you'll call, my parts girl, and we'll discuss what happens when you make those phone calls as we go along. We're going to talk about 3 items, 3 pieces of equipment. First, we're going to talk about the boilers, then the Laco separators, and then the pumps, the standalone pumps. First, let's talk about our Thermo Solution boilers. Boilers are Thermo Solutions. The company is located in Pennsylvania. They are very high efficient units. They don't have a lot of per se maintenance issues in regards to what you need to do. There are some stuff that we're going to go through each one of them to see what needs to be done on a quarterly, on an annual basis, just to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. They don't have a whole lot of problems. The times I've been working with them, maybe a solenoid valve, perhaps, but they're very stable. They kickstart very well, and they work for a long time, as long as you maintain the water chemistry. So that's the important thing of everything we have here, water chemistry. Who's ever doing your water chemistry, it's important to make sure that that's being maintained all the time. We don't want to create any bad water inside the heat exchangers, inside the pumps, inside the Laco separators that are doing the work. We want to make sure that all the water chemistry is maintained at all times. I always tell this to everybody: water chemistry is the important thing. I've seen equipment last 30 years. I've seen it last 4 years. So it really is really important that water chemistry is maintained, and you guys watch it, because a lot of times it's a poor stepchild. No one watches it until it's a problem. And a lot of the times the chemical people come, they do the work, and they come here on a monthly basis, but no one watches what they're doing, and it's a problem. Things don't happen overnight. Things happen over a long period of time, so you should be asking those questions to your chemical guy, or if you guys are doing it yourself, whatever the case is. Let's talk about the boilers. Like I said, they're outdoor rated boilers. The most important item of these boilers is the model and serial number, and I'll show you where they're located inside the boilers. Those serial numbers, specifically the serial numbers, are what helps our people back in our office make sure that when you call and you ask for a part or whatever the case is, because the shells of those boilers come in different configurations, so the serial number attaches everything that's in that boiler, so we know exactly what you need. So serial numbers are the most important thing of those boilers. They're really a whole lot. I mean, and they're going to give you IOMs, and they got electronic versions of them. You can go online and find them. Nothing is proprietary. You can take a look at what you want. The boilers are really easy to maintain. There's a filter. We'll go over it. The filter should be changed on initial installation. Like now, you should probably change it in about the 6-month period, just because of all the dirt that's been moved around and stuff. You should really change them once a year. The pleated filters, and I'll show you when we get there. Even though when we take those out and you look at them, they look clean, they're not going to be clean. So you got to be careful. You got to make sure, just because they look clean doesn't mean they're clean. There's a filter switch. There's a filter signal there that tells you when that filter is getting to a point where it needs to be changed. Don't depend on it. Open it up and take a look at it on a yearly basis. So that's the overall gist of the boilers. There's not really a whole lot of maintenance. We'll go over cleaning them when we get out there, what needs to be cleaned, what needs to be taken out, to look at. The burner, you never have to deal with the burner. You do have to clean the igniters and pilots, and clean the sensor, the infrared sensor that picks up the pilot light. And I'll show you how it's easy to just hand tighten, take a look at it, and we'll see how that works. Your boilers are being controlled by Modbus. Your controls guy are watching them and doing what they need to do with those boilers. They enable them, disable them. They have the ability to change the set points all through their computer base. I don't know where you guys are going to have your computer, but you're going to have the ability to take a look at what's going on with those boilers.
He wanted that changed today.
To
to a higher temperature. He said he couldn't go above like 180.
Yeah, we need to take a look at that. He called me about that. We need to discuss that because I know there's a high limit set point there that needs to be set in the boilers to make sure it understands you want to go higher than you need to do. The boiler's pretty sturdy. Obviously, there's safety and alarms that we'll go through them. There's 2 gas safety. There's a low water cutoff safety. There's a high temperature cutoff, and we'll go through when we're at the boilers which buttons those are, which need to be reset, and what needs to look at. It's got a little display in the front of those boilers. You'll be able to see what's going on. The biggest issue with that is making sure that when we get out there, and I'll show you, you're gonna on a yearly basis, you're gonna have to go ahead and inspect those heat exchangers. They're easy to inspect. Obviously, you'll take the front cover off, the jacket, and you look inside and see if there's any corrosion happening. You can pop the plugs up on top, with the flashlight, take a look and see what's going inside. You should drain the boilers and make sure once a year to see how the water looks like inside. Other than that, I don't have anything else on those boilers that we can talk about here. We can take a look at all the specifics of those boilers. If you have any questions that we can talk about that, we can do that also out there. Any other questions for right now?
Do you have any other handouts? Or?
They have submittals here that they're going to, I don't know how they're going to get distributed along you guys. There's submittals for all the pieces of equipment. Tells you, there's in the IOMs of every piece of equipment, tells you there's a checklist of what you need to check out monthly, quarterly, yearly. You just got to run through the list and check it off and check it off and check it off and make sure that you guys are maintaining your logs, because here's what happens. You're going to call me and tell me it's a warranty, this thing's failed. The first thing Thermal Solutions is going to tell me is, can I see the log of what they've been maintaining? Make sure they're maintaining what they need to be maintaining. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, you guys aren't watching your boilers. How can I cover that in a warranty? So make sure that you got your log sheets and you're signing off what you need to do, so that you send me a copy. I send the Thermal and they send you the part, and we're all done. So that's really the biggest thing. I don't know if they want to space out. Do we want to continue going on all our pieces of equipment and then go out and look at them, or go?
Well, I thought what they were going to do was do one thing at a time.
We can do one thing at a time.
So
I got no problem with that.
Stay focused on one.
Yeah, we can stay focused on the boilers. At this point, in here, the questions in the boilers. I mean, any questions here, we can go out there. We're going to really take a look at all the pieces and all the intricacies of those boilers and make sure that we know what needs to get done. So,
for your warranty work, do they want to see it on their log that it's checked off, or
no,
can we give them
your log is
work
fine.
orders out, or whatever we have?
Yeah, whatever's fine you have, as long as you have dated initials of what you're doing, right, and follow their checklist. Just attach a checklist to it, and you move forward with that and get it to us.
All right.
Okay, guys? Little boilers?
All right, guys, so these are the boilers. Like I said, they're Thermal Solution boilers, rated for the outdoors. We talked about it in the office, how important it is to have the model and serial numbers on these units. Because they're outdoor rated, they put it on the inside. On the indoor units, it's sitting on the outside, but on these particular units, because they're outdoor rated, they protect it by putting them on the inside. And let's just talk real quick. There's 3 boilers, but the 2 big ones are just a different capacity, but they all have, there's no difference with these intricacies inside here. They all have the same equipment, the same controllers, the same safeties, the whole 9 yards. Only the other 2 are bigger capacities. So like I said, model serial numbers are attached in a sticker right on the inside of this panel right here. These particular ones are EVOs 0750s. Serial numbers right below it. So that's important, again, for warranty and for parts and pieces, to make sure that we discuss that when you call our parts girl. And when you call our office, Nicole, she's our parts girl, she will first thing she'll ask you is, what's the model and serial number? And then if you have a hard time trying to figure out what it is that you're trying to explain, or parts is missing, you can snap a picture of it and send it to her. She'll ID it for you if you have a problem IDing it. The IOMs and the information you have inside that you're going to get has a breakdown of all the parts and pieces, so you can look at that if you'd like, or if you're in the field and you don't have time, you don't have it with you, snap a picture, call Nicole, she'll give you the email, you send it to her, she'll ID the part for you, give you a price. Usually they're available. Some of the smaller stuff's available next day. Some of the bigger stuff may take some time, especially heat exchangers, bore motors, but we can always try to see how fast we can rush things out for you on emergencies. So let's just talk about the big thing first. As you know, this is the blower right here. We talked about the filter. This little tube here goes back to the filter switch. It tells you when the filter's dirty. This little light will light red. You can't say, it's hard to tell in the daytime, but you know, you can get in there and take a look at it. It doesn't stop the boiler from working if that switch is thrown. So it will continue to work even if that filter switch's light is on. It's not a safety. Okay, really easy to change, nothing fancy about it. Obviously, you just take this tube out, you unwind the, and I'm going to do it so you guys can see. Thank you. And the whole thing comes out. Sometimes this washer falls, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, now you can see it. Nothing fancy about it. It's a pleated filter. And then the sponge is the pre-filter. Now, just because it looks clean, don't think it is clean. If it's been a year, you should change it out. They say the entire assembly. So you can call them up, tell them you want the filter and the pre-filter. You can wash them. Obviously, you can wash this. You see it's dirty. You can wash them. I would wash them like 6 months. Just this pre-filter. You can see how dusty it is just from the environment you're in. Doesn't matter which way it goes in. You can wash the
secondary.
You can wash the secondary too. Yeah, and the instructions it tells you exactly you can wash them and what you need to do to wash them. This little compartment comes off. It's not in there. You see, this is what the filter is by itself. Doesn't matter which way it goes in, this way or this way. It makes no difference to the unit. Okay. Just make sure that gasket is clean when you put it in, because people put it on the ground and then it picks up dirt or grime. So just clean that gasket and put it back in. And here's the blower motor. Tells you the rotation. There's an arrow right here. So if for some reason someone unpowered or did some wiring and you want to check the rotation, make sure it's rotating in the correct direction. The blower motor is attached to a VFD, which is sitting in the back of this unit. It's back here. It's an AC Tech drive. Very bulletproof. Never seen it fail. Works forever and ever and ever and ever. Because it's a modulating boiler, so it modulates itself, decide how close it gets to the temperature set point, and it'll modulate itself by itself, figuring out where it needs to get to where you go. So that's the blower motor. Now, if you're going to service anything in this boiler, it really is. I recommend take the filter out. That way, you have a lot of room to play with. That filter's in the way for you when you're working it. Okay, so let's start up. So we got the blower motor. Now let's talk about the safeties. There's a few safeties that the boiler's looking at to make sure it's working. One is, or two of them are gas related. It's the low pressure and the high pressure gas. There's two switches in the back. They're blue. There's a big box back here, and there's another box in the back here. You see, this one's easier to see. It's got two plungers up on top. Now, they're not always push down plungers. They always at the same position. So even if it's tripped, it's at the same position. And when you reset it, it's going to stay at the same position. So there's no push down pop up.
But not self-resetting.
Not self-resetting. It wants you to take a look, see what's going on.
You feel them.
You can feel it. You can feel them. Yeah, you can feel them click. Yeah. Those are the two gas safeties. There's a low water cutout switch, which is right here on an internal boiler. On the inside, it would be on the outside, but because it's inside, it's outside. It's right here. It's got a green light, a red light, a test switch, and a reset switch. The other safety is a flow switch that's sitting on that pipe right there. They're going to rewire it on Monday. It's just a wiring issue. And so that makes sure the pump's on. If the pump's not on, there's no flow to the tower. It's going to trip it off. The last one is the high temperature, which is sitting right here. It pops up you just got to reset it. So since it doesn't matter which boiler, they're all the same. If you look at that, there's the screen that goes into the pump to protect the pump. If you guys pop it to clean that screen, and the water loses the flow, the boiler's going to go trip out on the flow. Okay, so I would prefer that if you guys are going to do any cleaning or draining, that you turn the boiler off, and I'll show you how you do that. Because that way, if you turn the boiler off, do the work, it never picks up that there's a problem with the fault. Okay, so there's an on-off switch. It's a breaker switch, actually. It sits right here. That breaker turns everything off in the boiler. It doesn't turn the power off to the boiler itself because the VFD runs off the main power, but it turns everything off. So even if the boiler is on and burning and getting what it needs to go, you flip that switch, it turns it off. Okay?
What's the incoming voltage on these?
120.
Oh, it's all
Yeah, 120 up here. Yeah.
Yeah, motors.
Motors 120, yep. Yeah. So throw the switch. I'll show you in the back right now. There's the total power disconnect in the back. Yeah, it's a little box with a little light switch. That turns the entire power off the unit. Okay, so we've got the disconnect, and that's the only way really to turn the boiler off with that switch. You're being automated, so he can enable the boiler or disable the boiler, do everything he wants. There's automation, Modbus automation to it. Okay, so those are the safeties. We got the 2 gas safeties, we got the low cutoff water, and we got the high temp cutout. So whenever something goes wrong, first thing you do is make sure you got a green light. If it's red, check the pump, turn the pump on, reset it, throw the 2 switches in the back. It doesn't matter how many times you push the gas switches in the back. I don't care if you sit there and push 20 times, just push them and make sure they're reset. And then, so those are the safeties. VFD, like I said, it's modulating VFD. You don't have to do anything with the VFD. Really, technically, the boiler controls itself, right? Excuse me. The boiler controls totally itself. It handles itself the way it needs to handle. It doesn't care that it's being controlled automated-wise. Obviously, all it looks at is a set point, and it looks at enable or disable. But once he enables it and he has a set point in it, the boiler goes, okay, I'm on my way. All right. So the automation really is not controlling the boiler. It's just telling the boiler, do this to this point and turn on and turn off. Okay, and it's better that way. Some people like to interface with the boiler at a lower level, but the problem is that you start interfering with the safeties, you start getting into all kinds of problems. Let the boiler do what it needs to do. It's been doing it for a long time. It knows how to do it. Just give it its start-stop and give it a set point and let it move on its way. Okay?
Going back to your
Sure.
air filter, where does it pull the air from the outside?
If you look, there's a hole in the back. It pulls the air. There's a input in the back. Okay. It pulls from the back and then out. And in through here.
Okay.
Goes through this jacket right here.
Do you have any issues with that pulling dust up into the components inside the?
And that's it. Because you're outside, obviously that's a problem, and that's part of the maintenance. Turn the boiler off, obviously, because it gets hot in the heat exchanger. But turn the boiler off once a year. Get your little vacuum and vacuum the heck out of it and get it all cleaned up and vacuum. You're going to get it. I mean, it's just you got to get air into the system, so you got to make sure.
Yeah.
So you got to vacuum. Make sure you once a year get a vacuum and clean all the components, get it all sucked up, get everything cleaned up, and get it looking nice and dandy.
These two have an air inlet filter.
Yeah, there's a little.
On the back.
Yeah. So
this one's gonna get it?
Yeah, this one's going to get it too. Yeah. So yeah. So. Cleaning, you got to clean it once a year. Get in there and clean it. Otherwise, you're gonna get spider webs. You're gonna get crap, and just gets all crappy. So you got to get in there and clean it.
Do you ever use a metal filter for these?
No. You know, and I gotta look. They don't recommend it, but we can look. I'll send me an email, my email, and I'll send a message over to Thermal Solutions and see if they recommend an additional filter. If they Yeah. I know what you're saying, because the pleat's going to get water in it because you're so low at the bottom. Yeah.
So it also relies on the flow of air through the cabinet to cool off the VFD.
That's correct. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Yeah, that's why it's in there, because it wants to relate. It still gets hot, not really hot, but it still requires that to get it all cooled down. And like I said, if you wanted to check the heat exchangers like you're supposed to, you can see the heat exchanger sits right here. That's that right there, and you see all the copper plugs that go the holes. You would take this panel off, and you'll see the entire heat exchanger in the jacket, and take a look at the connections and make sure nothing's corroding, water's leaking. First sign you'll see water in the cement if something's leaking, obviously, because the water gets out. That's how you check so you take these plugs out. Obviously, you can drain it, take these plugs out, and take a look inside, see how they're looking. Make sure you're just putting them back the way they need to go. The biggest maintenance, I would say the biggest maintenance for these boilers are checking the igniters, the igniter assemblies. You should check them once a year. They're not very difficult to check, and you'll see it's all right here. This purple item right here is the sensor, and that picks up the pilot. So when the pilot lights up, it's actually physically looking at the pilot. It's a little lens inside at the bottom of it. It needs to be cleaned once a year. Maybe some carbon, something's built into it. Just get a little wiping, wipe it off. Don't do much of anything. It's hand tightened, not too tightened. The first time it's tight, but the second time you put it in, just hand tighten the nut. There's nothing else inside. All it is just a sensor right at the very end right here, and it picks up that pilot. Now, here's the pilot. Now, looks like a spark plug, really, and it's got a copper or a brass pitot tube that goes all the way down and turns, and that's what pilots are, right? It creates an arc across the pilot and the casing, and ignites the pilot. You don't want to do a whole lot of time here. Yeah, no. So you can see it. I mean, we can take this off, I guess. Let me just. This is the light. So the light's there, the red's up. Okay. So there's your heat exchanger. This hole is where you can see the actual flame of the, or not the flame, but you can see the heat exchanger light up. On this one, you got to get down there. Otherwise, you can see it, and you'll be able to see when, and you'll be able to see it on startup when it starts going through its process. It goes to a 30-second purge. Then it goes to a 10-second or a 5-second pilot ignition. And then it goes to full run mode. Now, when the pilot's on, if you look through this hole and you make sure you cover yourself up, you'll actually see the blue flame flickering. Right? On this display, it's going to say 5-volt signal. Right? So it trips the 5 signal. It's that arc, and then you'll see the actual blue light. You'll see it flicker. If you're dark enough and you got it real nice covered, you'll see the blue light flicker. After that, it goes into full burn. Pilot stays on though; it doesn't turn itself off through the process of the unit. So we were talking about the assembly here, and it's a 2-piece assembly, right? The spark plug looking unit goes in, and it's just a spark plug. You take it out, comes on out, and you'll see the pitot tube. That's not the problem. The problem is this casing section here, where it sits. It's a piece of galvanized or a piece of steel that goes in, that both sensors go into. When you take this out, you take those 2 screws out. Be careful when you take them out, because if you lose, they're going to slide through here, and you got to take this out to find them. Anyway, so you get them out. This whole assembly, you undo the piping. This whole assembly comes out and out. You take the spark plug out, you sensor out, the whole assembly comes out. You get a metal brush, round one, and you just run it through the middle of that tube. It's just a tube.
Is that whole assembly part of a spare parts assembly?
It's not a recommended spare parts, but it is an assembly you order. Yeah. So it really is. Cracking, breaking, maybe if you drop it when you're servicing it, maybe. But as far as them breaking on their own, never ever. Now, this one, the plug. Yeah, I have seen it break at the base here where it goes into it. It will still actually fire if the brake isn't that bad, but you need to change it. And just.
Do you have to set the spark cap or?
No.
What does it need to go?
No. If you look at the end of that, it's not like a regular car spark plug. It actually, the brass pitot tube comes out. It's about 3.5 inches, and then it does a quick turn, just so that it's about. So here's the container here. The where it sits in is round, right? And the pitot tube sits like this, and it just arcs across the metal and turns on the burn the.
So I'm saying is that gap.
Because it's a perfect. There's no gap change because it's a perfect screw here, and because that fix is perfect. It comes from the factory the way it is. You just slide it back in and tighten it, and it doesn't have to be in any direction, right? It sits like this, so it doesn't matter where you end up. But the problem is that if it doesn't arc, it doesn't spark, and it doesn't arc because there's a carbon buildup on the inside of the assembly. So you get the metal brush and just like a baby bottle cleaner, right? and then you put everything back together again, and put all the piping back together again, and it'll take off on its way.
Are these burning natural gas or waste gas?
I don't know what kind of gas. I'm assuming they burn natural gas. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about that assembly. That's what you really, the biggest serviceability of this tower at the end of the year is this assembly. Take it out, make sure everything looks good, nothing is broken, clean it out, put it back together again, and you're good to go. Obviously the filter's a secondary you need to worry about. So talk about that, we talked about that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about these controllers. Obviously, there's a whole lot of stuff these controllers can do. They're the burner controls and the RWF. Like I said, they're being controlled Modbus, really for you. You can just, when the cover's on, they're particularly look and see, it'll say standby or run. And also it has, if it's an alarm trip, they'll tell you what the alarm is. Your automation is going to tell you what's tripped the alarm, what's going on with it. I don't know how you guys get, if you get paged or whatever the case is. The boiler will go into alarm one time, and then it will wait about 4 or 5 seconds and then try to run again. And then it'll go into full alarm. So it will go into alarm, wait 5 seconds, try again. If there's something it doesn't like, it will stay in alarm until someone comes and takes a look at it. Now, this boiler has an interesting way that you can actually, I don't know if interesting, but you can actually see what's going on if you want to test it and go through its sequence. On the burner control, there's a little switch in the back. It's a little toggle switch. One says run, the other one says test. It's always in the run position. If it's in a test position, it is not going to work. So always in the run position. Now, say you come in and you say, well, what's going on? I'm not seeing the burner. Maybe I can troubleshoot what's going on. So you would turn on the boiler. You would hear the fan go into purge. You would hear it ramp up. It goes 100%. If you want to verify that everything looks good, right, you would throw the switch into test. When you throw the switch into test, it stays in the last position or in the last stage of what it was doing. So it's going to purge for 30 seconds, right? If you switch that to test, it's going to purge forever. But in that way, you can see if the motor's spinning in the right direction, everything looks good, sounds good, there's nothing fancy about it. Once you're satisfied that that stage is good, put it back in the run, look at this display. The next stage is going to be pilot light. Once you see it pilot light, signal come up, put it back in test, and it's going to sit there. And you'll be able to look forever and see the pilot guy flickering. All right? If you don't see the pilot light flickering, there's something wrong here, right? So you'll be able to see it. Once you're satisfied, you see the light flickering, put it back in the run mode. The next mode is going to be run mode, and leave it there. You can see it because you see the heat exchanger light up, glow. Okay, so it's a troubleshooting test button just to make sure every stage you can stop it, because it's not a whole lot of time. It's 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds. It's not a lot of time for you to start looking at what's going on. So you got to make sure, if you want to test, you troubleshoot what's going on, make sure things are going the way it should be. Turn it on, hear the purge, put it in test, make sure everything looks good, release control. Pilot ignition, put it back in test, look at the pilot light, make sure it's flickering, you're happy, release control, and go on to the next, and let it continue in its merry way. Okay. You have the ability to control the temperature on this unit. Even though the controls guys are doing it too, you can adjust the controls temperature wise if you want to do that on the keypad. There's instructions in the IOM show you how to do it. It's really that easy. You just hold the program key button down for 3 seconds and it'll tell you set point, and then you just go up and down to what you want it to do. Okay. That's that. Okay.
Can you show us how to adjust the burner controller and all the,
Yeah. So, yeah, let me. I'm gonna put this cover back on, and then we'll go through there, and I'll show you how to adjust this manually, so you can adjust it manually. Let me make sure I cover everything here. What's that?
Did you turn power off?
I did. I turned power off right here because I didn't want any of this wiring. The red's this one, and the white's the one on the bottom.
Turned off.
Yeah, it's turned off. It's tight. I wish they put more wiring. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the bottom one?
I'm sorry?
Is that corner from shipment, or how did it?
Where we talk? What?
Like that whole thing is like difficult to put together. Like when you put this cover on, it's like hits.
You got brackets.
Yeah,
It's just really tight. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I know I did talk to Thermal Solutions about that, but I mean, they also want to make sure it's watertight and there's nothing. So I mean, it's really tight. Their tolerance is really, really tight.
I think I hung another key right there behind that too. I didn't get lost. Where does the start-stop signal come in?
It comes from the controls.
Can you show where it's landing?
It's actually a Modbus.
Oh, into that.
Into this controller right here.
So how do you, if I don't want that signal coming in, or I want to jump it out and make it start up, how do you do that?
Okay, all right. So, I'm sorry. So, it's in Modbus set point control, right? Now, he's enabling and disabling the boiler through Modbus, right? So in order for that not to happen, you would have to remove this jumper right here. If you remove that jumper, then he's not going to look at the start stop of that signal over there on the controls, and then you'll be able to. The boiler's going to go into startup because it's going to look at the temperature and say, "Hey, I'm below temperature. I need to get going." Okay. So, but I mean, that's really the bottom line. I mean, if you take that jumper out, it's going to go, "Hey, I need to get going," if my set point's below where I need to be. Okay. So this RW here, right? And I don't know why they do it that way. That's the way they do it. When you put this cover on it, and I'll show you real quick, it doesn't show the temperature. It only shows the burner control. So you have to physically take the lid off to see the temperature. I don't know if that's just, I don't know. I talked to Thermal and they're trying to see what's going on and figure out, but I don't know what the deal is. But so you have to take the cover off to see what's going on temperature-wise, because the burner control doesn't tell you what's going on temperature. It only tells you what's going on with the burner. So the green is the set point, the red is the active point. There are lots of things you could do with it for troubleshooting in regards to warranty work or happening. You can set it on just to check through its sequence. But the biggest thing you're going to have to do is check the set point. Now, if you hold this, there's two buttons down here. One's called PGM, one's called exit. If you hold the PGM button down, it's going to switch over to thing. Now you're going to go through the program. Yeah. So there's a few things that are already preset that I set when I started the boilers. We're going to leave those alone. We don't want to touch any of that.
Can you go through those?
Sure.
Is that going to control with the jumper in?
No, it's not going to control the jumper. Right now, the automation system is controlling it.
So you have to pull the jumper to
Yeah.
get it to work
Yeah.
appropriately.
Yeah. So okay, so let's look at some of the stuff here, I guess. Hold on a second. So you can scroll through the menu, hold it for 3 seconds, you'll see it go. And then you would go, just hit the PGM button to scroll through alarm, the HYST, the PB1. These are all set points from the factory. It's they're just set points that allow the boiler to handle what's going on with the burner, what's going on with the VFD. Those are like your set points for how do you call it? The PID loops and stuff that the boiler's handling. So those stay. You don't change them. They just stay where they're at. The only one you're going to worry about is the set point, which is right there, set point 1, and it's set to 180. You can go up with the up arrow key. If you wait it, you see it. That little blink means it accepted the set point.
What's the maximum?
It's 210, I believe. Although the controls guy's having some issues with it, we're going to talk about it today because he wants those at 210. I think he wanted it. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought when I talked to him was two, but we'll talk to him when he gets here and see what he's looking for. No, he's not. Okay, because I think I talked to him over the phone, and he wanted to change it, and I told him what to look at to change it. But it's set at 210 as the maximum. You can adjust that, but you got to tell it to adjust it.
What's the high temp shutdown set at?
Oh, you know what? I don't remember what this one was. I'm sorry. I got to look and see.
Probably below 212.
Yeah. It's like 215.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, now, so that's. I mean, the set point really is you gotta just change the manual if you want to change it. It accepts the value. Here's the deal, and we talked about that when I talked to the controls guy and how Modbus works. Modbus is a writing, right? It writes and reads. So, and I'm sorry because I made a mistake when I talked to you about this. So it reads and it writes, but it doesn't constantly write to that set point. So when he changes the set point to 185, he's going to write to that set point and it's going to change it, right? If you come here and change, leave the jumper in. If you come in here and change it, it's going to validate that number until he sends it another signal to change. Okay, so you can modify the temperature all you want here locally, and it's going to accept it and move on to its endeavor. It will not go back to his number, even if he's got it at 190, until he actually sends that information back to the boiler and says, go to 190. Okay? So if you go here, if you hit the test button, you'll see it on the display. It says purge hold. Right? And that means that the button's in test mode. You've stopped it from going on to its next phase. You'll hear it going. Now, remember, this is just a filter. If you want to test, if you want to see what's going on, take the filter off, and don't put your hand in it, but you can see the wheel turning on the fan, just to see, make sure you're happy it's spinning in the right direction, or it is spinning, everything is good, right? You don't. This filter doesn't have to be in place for the boiler to go into full operation. Okay.
That's like drop down.
Yeah, standby. Yeah. Went to standby.
When you had it was set at 180. You didn't change it to 184, right?
You know, I don't know. You're
Must have changed it. Must have gotten a signal.
Yeah, you must have gotten a signal from it. Yeah. So. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk to controls guys, see how he's controlling it.
What are the rest of the numbers above the arrows, the up and down arrows?
So these are these right here.
Yeah.
So these are just they're not buttons, they're just lights. So if you're troubleshooting the boiler for some reason and you want to get into low fire, high fire, these lights will come on depending on what you want to do. There really is no need for any of you guys to ever screw with them on any level, really. They just it's just analyzing the system whenever you're trying to troubleshoot the boiler for some reason. There really is no need for ever moving or changing the set points on that level, because there's secondary menus that take the boiler down to additional menu items that you'll never have to touch. Those are just factory defaults to set to make the boiler run where it needs to go. The burner control, like I said, takes the burner control and it tells you what's going on. There's fault histories. If you arrow down, it's kind of not really, you just got to look at what's going on. There's fault histories, there's diagnostic info, there's expanded enunciation, there's remote command, there's all kinds of stuff that's doing. Usually for normal operation, the thing is sitting on standby or run, and the next line item standard is flame signal. And when the boiler's running, that flame signal says 5. Right now it's at 0, obviously because the boiler's off. But you can scroll through.
So the 5 is maximum?
5 volts is the maximum volt. When it's off, it's 0.
But when it's modulating it?
It's still 5 volts because that's just the pilot voltage going to the pilot light.
So how do you know what percentage the boiler's at?
That's in the VFD in the back.
That's the fan though, right?
Right, that's the fan. And that's how you modulate by what the
so the
VFD.
fan and the gas valves
Both mounted at the same time. Yep. So you'll be able to see it, and you'll see the flicker. When you look in here and look at the heat exchanger, when it's running 100%, it's bright orange. When it's at below that, you'll see it dim itself down.
Does the pilot system stay active? While
Stays active all the time.
Okay, except for the spark.
Except for the spark. Yeah. Yeah.
Does the Honeywell controller have an hour meter?
It does have not meter, it has runtime. Yeah. It has runtime. It has how many faults you've had. You go through the manual, it'll tell you all the things it does. They're very solid. They don't ever fail. I've never seen them fail. And most boilers that come out to the market or that come out to installations don't even have this burner control module. This little controller here actually comes out. You can take it off, and it doesn't affect the operation of your boiler. Only the operations of your Modbus, right?
Think about that anyway.
Right. So normally it comes with a cover, just a blank off cover. What happens is when people have 3 boilers, they'll buy one of these, and then they'll switch them back to see what's going on, because the troubleshooting for troubleshooting the boiler, you can just take them off and put them on. And the boiler can be running, and you can take it off, and it's still going to be running, and put it in the next one if it's running, and it's just going to take over and show you what's going on. So, but because this is a Modbus application, it required each one of them to have its own controller, and it just snaps in place.
Thermal Solutions, the log, is it dictated by hours or just days?
Days, monthly, quarterly, yearly, and you'll see in the book. Not by hours, yeah.
So from this point, you can log, if you push the up and down arrows.
Yeah, so you could see. So if you go fault history, and there's the fault cycle. So it had 155 faults from startup to this point, which makes sense because we were having trouble with the flow. And then you go back, and then you scroll down. Diagnostic info. It tells you, because I mean, I'm not your only cycle for help. If you want to call, if I can't get a hold of someone here, you can call Thermo and ask them, and they're going to ask you information about it. Okay. Total hours run, 108 hours. So it gives you all that information you want, Now, all of you can come over here. I put a hole in pilot. Go ahead, I know it's down here, but if you guys can come up here and look, you can look at the light flickering. See it? No. You don't see it? Yeah, I just saw it right now. It's really there. I don't see it anymore.
Psych. What you did?
Psych, it's there. It's hard to see sometimes, but it'll flicker. It'll go into operation. Is there a what?
Purge air switch?
No.
So it's just based off the time?
Yeah. Just standby temperature off. So, now, the only thing with the boiler is it does get, I mean, when it gets up and gets going and it's below temperature set point and it runs, it'll get up to set point in a heartbeat. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, guys. So wherever you set it, it's going to get there right away. And like I said, here's the deal. It's new equipment to you guys. don't be afraid to call me and say, hey Omar, this thing is making some racket it never made before. What the hell's going on? We'll walk our way through it and figure out what's going on. I'm not always, I mean, sometimes I'm in the sub basement, you can't call me, but you know, I'll come out, leave a message, we'll figure it out, and if I have to come out here and take a look at it with you, we'll figure it out. Don't be afraid to call your boilers if there's a problem. Call me and say, hey Omar, this thing is making a racket, what the hell's going on? And then we'll take a look at it. You got my numbers. I'm sorry?
That one was making noise the other day.
Yeah, the fan's making a noise? Okay, we'll take a look and see what's going on. Other than that, I don't have anything else on these boilers. Obviously, those questions come along. If you have any questions that should come along, say we go tomorrow and you say, hey, and then just give me a call. We'll walk over.
What's the sun gonna do to the face of these controllers?
They're supposed to be UV rated. I haven't seen damage to them, but I don't see all of them, and I don't see a whole long distance of them, because sometimes they won't even call me what's going on. So I don't know. It's supposed to be outdoor rated. I haven't seen any damage in regards to them. Anything else?
Does your PM routine include checking your pressure switches? Checking the calibration on them?
They do. In the checklist it does. So monthly, here's what I would do. I mean, the checklist, there's a big checklist in the book, but monthly I would check the filter, make sure it looks good. I would open it up and see if there's any debris that needs to be, you know, checked out. See, because you guys are in a real bad area, obviously, because there's a lot of dirt and grime and crap flying around in the air. That really is my biggest concern. Make sure there's no crap. You don't need to take any of the pilots off, because it's, in a month it's just not enough time. Let them go a year before you take a look and see what's going inside. There's you can clean these up. There really is nothing else that you need to do on them. I mean, look at the list. It's a rather extensive list of vacuum this, wipe this, and then quarterly do this, do this. It's a big list.
Do we get any spare filters?
I don't know. You don't. I don't know if the contract requires it, but I'm not sure.
He keeps on sending it to the single and then shutting down.
Yeah, I got to see. There's a lockout here. I got to see why. It's a 30. It's got a flow switch problem. I got to look and see. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. How come? I got a question for you, Dan. Is there? I mean, I know you and I talked about this. I mean, you guys had problems with water flow. Is there? I mean, is there some issue with the water flow getting into the system or water not being out?
I'm gonna check it. I'll check it again, because it was running like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It was doing pretty good actually.
Yeah, I know.
So I'll check it again.
Yeah, because I'm concerned that may be a problem. Okay. All right. Cool. Guys, like I said, any other questions come up tomorrow or tomorrow night, in the middle of the night, you wake up and you go, God, Omar, I forgot to ask him this question. Call me.
In the middle of the night.
Well, you can call me. You can call me in the night. I may not answer, but I'll get you in the morning. All right, guys. Thanks.